Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. We have a very special guest here today. Her name is Dara Randall. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. So a little bit of backstory. I met Dara at an ecstatic dance, and it was quite funny because I'm literally, having this dialogue in my head of like, man, I gotta, do some stuff to like try to put together, me going to Israel and everything. And then out of the blue, this girl walks in and says, "Hey, I'm Jewish too." Shabbat shalom. And I was like, what? We're at an ecstatic dance. I'm very confused. And
You
then
gotta keep on.
I know. And sometimes I forget that everybody but I never met this girl before. And then I'm like, oh, okay, it's cool. I kind of want to talk to her. And then we kind of talked a little bit. And then I find out that you're good friends with one of my best friends, Sammy. And I'm just like, wait, what?
I think by that point we had already gotten into a very deep conversation about like energy and Judaism and how like that all plays into each other. A lot of people don't really realize about Judaism is that it's told in 4 stories. There's the practical story, the metaphorical story, the simple story, and then there's the energetic story.
Oof.
So it's like it was exciting to have that conversation. And then after we had already bonded to come around and be like, oh, I'm coming up here to visit your friend who happens to be your best friend. And that's why I was at that space and in that space at that time was because she was doing an energy healing on me the next day. So
It's so beautiful.
So it was like we were already meant to be in each other's lives. It just had to be the right setting.
Exactly. And it was so funny because I can tell you several times before, she's talked about you, but I never met you. Yeah. So it's like, it's really cool from an energetic perspective how we all actually meet. But there's a special time and place where it's in the physical. Because, we had already met.
Yeah, it's... Well, I mean, it could be thought that we had a soul contract. And once, the thought of what I wanted to create came alive. Because at that time, I was craving a Jewish, energetic Jewish community. And you had just built that. So I was, sitting there being like, I really want... a community of people who understand Judaism the way I understand Judaism, because a lot of people get really focused on the simple story, and they lose how the whole word for Torah is just meant to mean it's meant to be instructions for life.
Yeah.
So they lose that aspect of it, and understanding that it's instructions for life in the physical, instructions for life mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And seeing how to work within our current reality, how to really add that information in there. And so I'm so lucky that you had already built pretty much your own synagogue virtually, which was great during a pandemic,
And that what she's references is Shevet Kalot, which there's a little bit of an update. I don't think I've told you yet.
Oh, wow.
Renata's coming back from Israel.
Yes, I saw that on the, yeah.
And we're building a Moishe house.
Oh, wow.
And so hopefully when this is actually being listened to, that's already come to fruition. And probably, I don't know if this will go out during high holidays or if it'll be just after, but...
So for people who don't understand, a Moshe house is like... a house to create a community with specifically around Jewish culture. And you can, if you are interested in Judaism, you can stay at Moshe houses during Shabbat and learn a little bit about the culture. And there's pretty much a Moshe house in every major city in the U.S.
Except for us right now.
Oh, really?
Until now.
Oh, wow. Cool. Yeah. The Moshe House is such a great idea. It's such a great idea. I love that. Oh, I'm going to love your guys' Moshe House.
You are welcome to stay.
That's great. That's great.
But, wow. Like, just like the fact that you, like, with being in, by the way, Shabbat Shalom, because it's Shabbat. So this is such a sacred conversation.
Absolutely.
Like right now. Like, but the fact that you knew people that I knew in Israel, like how our culture is like, it's like none other. It really is.
I mean, I don't, I guess I don't want to feel, I feel like I do, what I do want to feel is that like everyone else has access to it.
Yeah.
And that, you know, just because we're Jewish, I don't feel like that's like right that the knowledge is a little bit more like comes to us first, or the information gets to us first in some ways. Like I would really love it if everybody kind of understood the information, like we get it from like these prolific rabbis in Jerusalem, or these like these different sources. Like I feel like a lot of people have just gotten this kind of watered down version of what we've learned, and they alienate it from themselves, and then they alienate almost like source from themselves, or that energy. And it's so wielding, and it's so powerful, and it's so capable of creating infinite things for your life, like manifesting so much for your life. And so I feel like there should be a place that is really more open. And I know a lot of different Kabbalah centers are trying to create the information, but because they only give one side of the coin, oftentimes what I'm hearing from those centers is that they're not giving like all the information, and they cost a lot of money, and it just, the way that they're doing it isn't exactly favorable. So I do think that there should be like a channel to talk about channels, and how like channeling God's energy and what that can do for different aspects of your life.
I love that. And like, you know, and that's where it's at, is you know, having us all as a collective really tap into that source energy, no matter what your religion is, no matter what that, it's source, you know, and we're all connected. And that's what I love about you is you really have that at your core, and sharing your beautiful wisdom.
You're trying to like inflate my ego right now.
Oh my goodness, I'm just speaking truth.
Okay, beautiful. Well, so I think one of the things that I've realized about the energy, I had this epiphany once with business in general. I was like, I'm just going to create a gifting economy. Business like can be wielded to whatever reality you want it to be. You can create whatever reality by just setting the intention and deciding that is the new business. So I was like, I want to create a business around giving out free things. That was the thing. And I was like, giving is receiving. And I felt that so strongly. I was like, that's like life. Giving is receiving. And then the thing about Hebrew that's really fascinating is that all of the words at their core have their intention and meaning. Like love, ahava, at its core means to give, because loving is giving. Simcha, which is happiness, at its core means growth, because to feel like you're growing is to find happiness. And so I was like, there has to be a word that means both giving and receiving. There has to be one word that means that. And I was like in search, and I asked my boyfriend, my significant other, I was like, there's got to be a word. And he doesn't care about any of this energy stuff. So he blurts out the word, and he's like, oh yeah, it's this word. You know what word is? What word it was?
What was it?
Kabbalah. Kabbalah means both to give and to receive.
Right. Interesting.
When you give a receipt, you're giving Kabbalah.
Yeah. Wow. I love that.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And he's like, oh, it's Kabbalah. That means giving. I was like, how is that not blowing your mind right now? How is that?
That's really funny. Yeah. Wow. Just integrating that.
It is. And that's what creating income is. Like recently, I made money from giving out free money, right? Even right now, I'm still making money giving out free money. I'm making money actually purchasing something for people, which is a really fascinating little thing that I'm doing. So it's just like giving is receiving. As an example, somebody essentially spent $100 on me on something, and that's going to result in about $2,000 for them. Is like long story short in math. I'll have to go into that a different conversation that's not focused on energy, but yeah.
Well, please tell us a little bit about what you do and like. Yeah.
So I do a lot of different things. One of the things that we're doing right now is we're building a depression and energy center. I'm also working on a marketplace for channelers, people who channel the energy and all the different ways that manifest. Actually, you're actually an inspiration in the direction in which I'm building it, because the channel that you have with drawings, I was like, there's got to be a way to share drawings, like channeled pictures, channeled things. So it's not just going to be like Zoom call, or like it's got to be a way where people can receive an image as well.
Wow.
So that's one of the aspects that I'm wanting to build as I'm working with some developers on that. So we've got the Energy Center, which, Paige or River, who was here recently, she helped with the name of, and we're also building the network. And I'm also an energy healer myself. So
that's incredible.
Along with a lot of other different businesses. What's actually interesting is right before I came to do this podcast, I was talking to somebody about human design, and they had me look up my human design again, which I already knew that my human design is manifest generator. There's different types of human design. It's generator, manifest, and then projector and reflector.
Reflector, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm a manifest generator, and what it said was I'm somebody who could create abundance in multiple projects, and I can't. I've got to be aware that not everyone can keep up with all the different things that I'm doing. So I was like, oh shoot. That's what my issue is here.
Hello, Gemini, too.
Yeah. I'm doing all these different projects, and people are like, well, what how are you able to accomplish all these things? And I feel like, just putting the intention and speaking it into the world and just trying to align people that are right for it and that will work for them and give to them in some way is really how you create abundance for any project.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, you just kind of made me go somewhere in my head on stuff. Like when you're building something, how do you build that foundation?
Like a business?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing is faith, because you can't build something out of nothing without faith. So you got to have faith in God.
Emunah, yes.
Or faith in energy or universe, however you want to brand that for yourself, or however it feels comfortable for you. But, I was telling somebody, I was like, the difference between witchcraft, law of attraction, and God is branding. That's just it. It's just branding. Like, you can call it what you want, but energy, you have to have faith. You can't build something out of nothing without faith. Actually, I also was kind of analyzing what is poverty, what is having a lack. And I realized it comes down to 4 aspects. Lack of faith in God is one. Lack of faith lack of being able to do things yourself. Like if there's some kind of disconnection to self, disconnection from community, and then disconnection from resources. So disconnection from God, self, and community and resources is what creates poverty. Because if you have, and it starts in that way too, like you connect to faith, and you connect to self, then you connect to community. And then if the community even has if anyone in the community has resources, it will build.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. It's actually something I realized after a session with Aurora. So
she's going by Sammy now.
I'm having a hard time with these.
I know. It's all good.
Okay. Why did she switch back to Sammy?
You know.
It's her story. It's her story.
That's her story, and she'll be on here soon, I feel.
Okay, great.
But, you know, one thing I really love is your mind and how you take, you know, these, like, all this information and you put it in a model form.
Thank you.
And I feel like that's like a backbone, a structure. You know, if we have unorganized thoughts, then we don't get anywhere. But you do such a great job with organizing those thoughts to put them into action. And can you speak more on like your process on that?
Wow. From an energetic standpoint,
Whatever comes through.
Okay, so I mean, clearly, like the first thing is to get clear on your intentions. You know, I was doing workshops called Am I allowed to cuss on here? Okay, I'm doing workshops, so it's like, who the fuck are you and what the hell do you want? And it's kind of like being like having a gun pulled on you, like who are you and what do you want? Like, but like, what do you want? That's the hardest thing to really clarify. And I'm working with someone right now, and she keeps saying, well, I don't have the right to say that this group should be like this. And it's like, no. It's not about what you hope to build or what you feel like. It's what do you want? What do you want? And then from what do you want, you go to what do you want to heal? So like, if you have a hard time with what do you want, then there's so many different processes for it. To get to that, okay, let me think. I want to guide somebody on a podcast to figure out what they want. To figure out what you want, you would go with what causes you the most pain and what do you want to heal. So, and if you can't figure out what's causing you the most pain and what you want to heal, then you've got to look at your inner circle, people around you, and realize, why did you choose them? Like your friends. You meet hundreds of people on a weekly basis, maybe not as many since the pandemic, but you meet hundreds of people in your life. Why did you keep the people you kept? All the stories that you got in contact with, why did you keep the people that you kept? And then see like what they bring out in you that you value. And this is also really great to do an inventory if you've got some really unhealthy energy in your life as well, because then you can kind of look at that and trying to understand like if you're valuing toxicity within yourself. But if it's something that makes you thrive, like for me, I realized I really value my friends that like my writing and like what I create and appreciate the things that I built. And so I realized like I really like, you know, like writing is a really big thing for me. Writing and creating and building is important to me. And then what do I want to heal? I want to heal poverty. And what is healing poverty? And then we go back into what all the different businesses that I'm doing are. It's like you've got to heal faith, you've got to heal the mind, you've got to heal community, and you've got to heal the illusion that you don't have access to the resources. Well, at least in American community, if this was somewhere else, you know, the access to resources might be very real. But in the U.S., if you do those three, access to community, once you get to that point of access to community, like resources are just there. Like we have the resources. That's like part of being in a first world country.
Yeah, I've often found, you know, we create these illusions in our mind. And if we just take that leap of faith, like you're saying, having that faith is everything. Because, you know, source, Hashem, God, spirits, you know, literally just has that readily for you. It's just you believing in yourself that you're worthy of it in a sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of it. Like, self-worth is part of what you have to heal in order for your own abundance.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't realize that you're rejecting yourself from it on a constant basis, because you're really going to get the value that you demand from your self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's what you'll see in so many different businesses and avenues, is the people who are making the most are often the people that, even if they're being shisty, it's the people who value themselves at a pretty good level. Like, and you don't have to, if you do it in a place that's positive, where you're valuing yourself and you're valuing your community and you're valuing the other people, and that's how you'll multiply your own abundance.
Yeah.
But actually, in reality, if you just value yourself a lot, it doesn't really matter what you create. You'll eventually have abundance. It's true. I see it with people all the time, like people who've never worked a day in their life, and they manifested abundance. People who've only worked to work people over, and they manifest abundance, and they keep it. It's just really about valuing yourself. Whether it's negative or a positive way of going about it, the self-value is what creates the abundance.
Very true. It's kind of funny how you and Sammy work. Y'all have very incredible energy together. Because even when you're not there, I can see it, and I'll explain why. I went over to her house one day, and we were all talking and everything, and she's like, "What do you want to create?"
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
I'm very much about that. I feel like that's the biggest struggle, is like helping people with generating income, because I created a whole system where people can give out free stuff and generate income.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't have to. So my thought was like, if I do this, there won't be rock bottom. But then I did that, and I just created a different, like something like just kind of a life jacket for rock bottom. It wasn't really bringing them up to abundance. It was just kind of like making it so that they could give free stuff and just get out from being at rock bottom. So then the question has to be different. What do you want to create? What kind of reality are you trying to manifest? And yeah, I know that she had one of the tools that I have is through really outlining what a 5 years looks like. It's like, what are you in 5 years? Okay, that's your goal. What does it look like in 5 years? Okay, then what does it look like in 4 years? What does it look like in 3 years? 2 years? 1 year? 6 months? 2 months? What do you need? And then work your way the opposite way. So in 2 months, set a list of what you need to have done for yourself, like what you're expecting yourself to accomplish in 2 months. And then, okay, and then what does it look like in a year? If you've done everything that you're supposed to do, and this is really what you want to achieve, like what is it going to look like in a year for you? And like, not just visualize your objective, but visualize every step of the process, and get excited and have gratitude for every step of the process that you're going to go through. Just actually 3 days ago, somebody told me that that they were trying to essentially, I don't know how to, it's, I guess, a little bit more backstory. Somebody informed me that I was going to be screwed out of $12,000, which ended up not being possible, because that person wasn't going to get the abundance in order to do that to me. It was a deal that was going to happen, and my commission from it they were going to keep and take me out of the deal. And I felt really upset about that. I felt really hurt. And then this guy calls me, who I've been working on with this cryptocurrency, who's pretty much given me $100 wallet and put in another $100 in it, and is helping me like manifest essentially $50,000 from that $100. He calls me and he's like, I did this I'm so excited to give to so many people. I've created 40 different wallets for people. I've given 40 different people $100. I'm so excited to see these people come out of poverty. he was so abundant. And then I got grateful, and I was like so grateful that he was so abundant. And I got grateful for the abundance that he was giving me and gratitude. And I was just like verge of tears, gratitude. And then I get out of my car, I'm walking around talking on the phone, like kind of healing, feeling taken from, letting it go. And I looked down the ground and I found $600.
Oh my God. Whoa.
I picked up $600. So if that does become $50,000 and then I just like found $600 on the ground, it's like, what? It's crazy. It's just manifesting abundance in so many different ways. It's like letting go. It's about letting go, having gratitude for the abundance that you currently have, whether or not you have it or not, or you feel like you have it or not.
Yeah.
You gotta rewire your thought process or the energy, rewire the energy that's going through your own body and your life that you're manifesting with. Think of it as like you are the tool, you are the light that you are wielding.
Yeah. You know, I want to say thank you. I'm in so much gratitude to you.
I'm in so much gratitude to you too.
Because this, honestly, if that model, if you had not taught that to Sammy, and then thank you, Sammy, for teaching it to me, I would not be sitting here, right now. And the reason I say that is because that's, even though I already had Energy Speaks, you know, like that, you know,
full circle. Wow.
Heart, really it is. Ooh. Like,
feeling that.
I did that exercise with Sammy, and she's like, what do you want to create with that? And so I told her, and she's like, okay, what are you going to accomplish within this week? And I will tell you, by the end of that week, I had my website up. I had, you know, like the business model I had in my head since Mother's Day of last year was put into action.
Wow.
And then when I took another road trip and allowed for myself to process everything and step away from all of the things that I just created with, I was actually getting sustainable income coming in. I came back and magic just started, bam. I have always wanted to do a podcast and to connect people with speaking their truth, having a platform for people just to speak their truth, whatever it is, you know, with integrity and love. And that was all possible because of that model.
Wow. All right.
Because I could now see the opportunities, the different possibilities of what has come off from that baseline, that foundation.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I'm so grateful that you acted on it and that you created with it. But it definitely helps to not view your goals as such a big thing, a big overwhelming thing.
Yeah.
And just to kind of take it like one step at a time. This week, all you have to do is get a name for yourself. Next week, all you have to do is create a website, you know, and it's getting easier and easier. And I genuinely believe if you don't figure out how to do this, then you won't have the capability of creating any type of like financial security because we're all becoming automated. Everything we do is becoming automated as the days go by. So, and even more so rapidly after the pandemic, I feel, because they really had to figure out alternatives. So really, not only are there so many tools to create more and more abundance for yourself, but it's becoming more and more necessary to do it.
Very true.
So, yeah. So then it's like, okay, you got to get back to the like beginning steps of like, how do I show people what they want so they can even just get there? I mean, at some point, what you want is really the only hurdle that you've gotta get to.
Yeah.
Because you can want so many things for the world. There's so many different ways to get people to speak their truth. So.
How did you get to the space where you're at? Like, where did it all start? Where's the inception point? Conception point? Inception. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
How did I know what I wanted? Or
Well, I mean, you have the confidence. You're putting things to action. Like, were you always like this?
yeah.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would go to birthday parties and take balloons and sell them to the guests. Like, I was like 6, there's just no doubt that it could work. Like, I don't know. Because because to me, there's no failure. There's no failure. There's only feedback. Reality is just a feedback loop.
I love it.
We heal and get to the next level. We're just living in a spiral feedback loop and that's to me the reality is that there is no free will, and free will is only either two options: either you heal and evolve, or you keep staying the same lessons over and over until you heal and evolve.
Yeah.
And that's with everything. That's with your business, that's with your love life, that's with your sense of self. So having a healing center is just helping evolve.
I definitely want to hear more when things are developed, and we'll definitely have you on again.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to ask you is, since you're a writer, you're a creator, I would love to, if you're open, hearing, I know you write poems.
I do.
Would you be open to doing a poem?
I would. I kind of would want to read it, but I guess I kind of have it memorized, my last love poem. I do have some love poems memorized.
Well, if we need to take a small break for you to do that,
yes. Yeah.
let's do that. We'll be back in a few moments. So we're back.
Yeah, so, okay, this is one of my love poems, one that I wrote recently. Okay. I love you like the way the moon loves the sun. And I used to think that meant that I was willing to chase you around the world in hopes of embracing you for an eclipse, waxing and waning to be a part of your light as if the moon wasn't already whole. That was a naive perspective from Earth's point of view, because Earth only ever knows one side of the moon. And in truth, the sun is always with the moon. The sun sees the moon whole, unconditionally gives love and light as part of its own inner radiation, regardless of space or time. The sun has poured its light on every crater that dug into every surface. Seeing the moon transform itself for over billions of years, the sun isn't tricked by the lunacy in the phases of the moon because it knows it's a reflection of itself. It's the same light that gives the whole world two divine holy realities with the same unlimited potential, and the moon knows how to hold space. With the earth would be off on its own axis. They see each other fully from the dawn of time to each other. They are both dawn and time. Even at the opposite ends of the gravitational pull, they complement each other. With spring tides for surfers to create adrenaline rush inside the folds of Earth's memories, creating shadow work in each other. They are always together, mission with co-creating through millions of spiral threading lifetimes and life forms. In 1609, Galileo built the first telescope to microscope at the moon's structure. It wasn't as smooth as they all thought, but had mountains and depressions later called craters. Craters is a word adopted from a Greek word that means vessel. That means for over 300 years, a deep hole has always meant to mean a vessel for light, making the moon perfectly whole in light of the sun. Perhaps the words whole, and holy were always meant to sound the same. They describe the relationship between two things that orbit each other, and in a way they are the same. So in space of love and light, you can't fill a hole if you feel whole. In Hebrew, the word for holy or divine is kadosh. Kadosh is not the feeling of faraway thing on an unattainable pedestal, floating in space, secluded in its orbit, or an island chasing the sun. The word for holy is understood to mean passionately connected to your own authenticity, and at the same time being able to express that through your life. I imagine that as flow state, the feeling of your center when you feel center, creative uninhibited connection to self. The opposite for the word kadosh in Hebrew is the word chol, which means mundane. It is the same word for sand, because unlike dirt, where the moon can control the ebb and flows of water, inside soil and create growth, no matter how much water you bridge together the pieces of sand, it'll eventually fall to pieces. Tiny specks of rock that on its own don't stack up to much, but can be counted on to sink themselves into a structure of an hourglass. Drifting into pieces without finding inner peace. To be mundane is to be disconnected from your true purpose and meaning in life. We are all co-creating right now. And I love you like the way the moon dances with the sun, in the shape of a golden ratio, infinite and irrational, riddled with synchronicities inside every fraction of my body, inside the structure of my DNA, inside the rhythm of my heartbeat when it's at peace. It is also the name for divine proportion. So I love you with the exact measurement of divine proportion. In 1205, the first image of a man getting on one knee and giving a woman his heart was made famous. It was the bottom of a pine cone, the image of the golden ratio, as if the universe printed I love you in every structure of life like a made in China sticker. It is the mathematical term used to describe the relationship of two figures that are disproportionate to each other, but make an equal proportion when together. Eventually, it becomes two pine cones that weave into each other, making the symbol of the heart we see today, showing that every individual exists within itself infinite beauty of divine proportion, capable of creating unlimited potential on its own and still peace within a bigger whole.
Wow. Gotta have the snaps.
Okay.
Wow. Like, I love that so much. Like, whoa, mind blowing. Oh my goodness. Like, I have heard this at the Movement Movement Sanctuary. But I just went to a whole nother experience in a different setting.
It was kind of hard to hear it the first time. I really like that love poem. It's like one of my favorites that I've written. And I've started to write other poetry with that same kind of like mindset and to describe other things like identity. And I like the format that I did. But this poem is 4 minutes long. So for whoever listened to it, thank you for staying for the whole poem. Gratitude.
Wow. I love your creations. I love your mind and how
I love that you love that.
Like,
I value that you love that.
It's so cool because the podcast is called Energy Speaks, and I love the planetaries. I mean, you saw my astrology backpack.
Yes,
Like,
love it.
There's just something with the sun and the moon, and I've always, loved. It's so funny. I've always pointed out for, multiple, words that sound similar. It was always the word holy. So that has great meaning right there. And the fact that you wrapped it all inward to a connection, and your love, within that connection is just so divine.
Well, yeah, when you think of it, like a whole is both complete and in need. And that is also technically holy. It's both complete and needing to be like filled with love, like it's giving and receiving. It's Kabbalah.
It's almost like an absolute,
Yeah. So holy is a perfect word for it in English, especially considering we utilize it for both empty and complete. I think.
Yeah.
Because it's both an illusion. Like in Hebrew, the word for world, which I go into a different poem a little bit, the Hebrew word for world, olam, is also the word for veil, because anything you would think of as a world is simply just an illusion. It's just a veil. So, yeah, whole or holy. It's really whole or holy. It's just a veil. It's technically all holy.
This is just such a great, like creation to even speak on Shabbat. I just thank you. Thank you
for having me.
Absolutely. And you're always welcome on Energy Speaks podcast. Like,
thank you.
The
next project, you guys are going to hear about it.
We'll have more goodies.
Absolutely.
You're always doing so much, and it's just incredible.
Thank you, and thank you for appreciating it. Yeah. I mean, we'll see where it all goes to. The interesting thing about the energy healing centers is that I actually, it all kind of manifested from this one moment at the Movement Sanctuary as well. And then I just had it like, I want to do it. And I wrote it down and I was just like, I want to do it. And then, an investor came to me and was like, that's such a good idea. I'll invest in it. I'm willing to put 2.2 million into it. And then I was like, oh, this has gone from like, it was just on a piece of paper. And then like I had somebody who had that interest. So it really does seem like something that we're going to keep going with and to develop into something that will hopefully be flourishing. And something that I've come to learn through doing depression centers, it's like there's only like one or two tools that have like an 80% success rate. And so everything else people are doing for depression, like medication, it's really magnets, different type of magnet therapy, TMS. Magnets have like an 80 to 90% success rate for healing depression, like from chronic, like biological. It's just magnet. And it's like, so it's so simple, but it like does so much for people. So
that's incredible. I've actually had a magnet session, or a couple of them, and they're very powerful. And it's I feel like in those sessions, it's really, because they're polarized, right? There's a positive and a negative. It's really setting the sacredness, the sacred container for one, that session, and two, what that means energetically in your life. Because I've noticed there's so much to be taught with the magnets as well. It's not allowing the magnet to pull you from side to side. It's finding the center within the magnet. And that's what I've noticed, because at first when I started using them, I realized this is a very powerful tool. And the energies that are associated with the magnets, because it's really tuning into our Earth and the magnetic pull, right? Like our entire Earth is a magnet. Yeah. And when we tap into that and we realize what that magnet can do, like by putting a magnet on, certain areas of your body can actually, like nullify or let go of certain things that are within your body, that's incredible,
Yeah.
But it's really, again, going back to that center and realizing, having that grounding point being your connection with Source and allowing Source to facilitate that entire, experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's scientifically proven that it works so much more than anything else. So the fact that we're still utilizing antidepressants and it's so there's so much science backing that insurances have to have to accept magnet therapy because it's proven by Stanford as 90% accurate from Stanford studies in healing depression. So
wow, that's incredible. Thank you for what you're doing, and I want to hear more. I want to hear more. Like,
yeah, I'll let you know how
yeah.
I'll let you know how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I thank you. Is there anything else you want to?
I appreciate for being on here and for allowing me to be on here, and for anyone who is listening, I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. And we, in the future, I'd love to hear more of your poems. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. iHeartRadio, also Amazon Music and Google Podcasts, and getting those episodes up on YouTube as well. So please hit the subscribe button, and I thank you all, divine, beautiful souls, for listening. This is Catriel, your host. Over and out.